Two things before we start. First of all, there are two official recaps that already exist, the first recapping seasons 1 through 4, and the second recapping just season 5. They are entertaining, fast-moving, and feature 21's narration. So I'm going to mostly focus on recapping seasons 6 and 7, but I'll include links to those other videos in the description. Also, to be honest, I have no way of knowing what you actually need to know prior to seeing the movie because the Venture Brothers has a way of taking seemingly insignificant moments from the past and making them a huge deal, or sometimes completely shelving plot lines that seem to be going somewhere. Here we go. Season 6 starts out with Hank, Dean, Sergeant Hatred, and Dr. Venture moving to New York City to live in Ventec Tower after Dr. Venture inherits his late brother's business and fortune. Let me back up a bit. Just prior to Season 6 and the special All This in Gargantua 2, Jonas Venture Jr., or JJ for short, opened up a casino on a space station. While there, it was revealed that he had cancer, and after the space station casino is sabotaged, he ends up heroically going down with the ship. Having inherited all this stuff from his brother, Dr. Venture becomes slightly more important, which warrants the return of his former bodyguard Brock Sampson, which leaves his current bodyguard, Sergeant Hatred, with little to do but become a security guard. While Dr. Venture has risen through the ranks, his arch-nemesis the Monarch has fallen. Without a flying cocoon or a bunch of henchmen, there's now a bunch of people ahead of him in line to arch Dr. Venture. The Monarch is currently living in Newark, New Jersey, in his late parents' house, which is being renovated throughout the season. Those renovations lead to the discovery of the Morpho Cave. It turns out the Monarch's father had a secret crime-fighting identity, the Blue Morpho. His shtick was pretending to be a bad guy, getting close to other bad guys and taking them out from the inside. The Monarch and 21 take on the identities of the Blue Morpho and his sidekick Kano to secretly take out any villains that stand between him and Dr. Venture. Meanwhile, the sudden appearance of the Blue Morpho causes Dr. Mrs. the Monarch a bunch of stress in her new position as a guild councilperson. Now is as good a time as any to explain the organizations that govern the Ventureverse. The series focuses on two main organizations, the OSI and the Guild of Calamitous Intent. The OSI, or Office of Secret Intelligence, is an organization that works for and protects the good guys.
Whoa, I think the less hurtful term is protagonist.
Brock works for the OSI. The OSI assigned him to protect the Venture family. In opposition to the OSI is the Guild of Calamitous Intent, or the Guild for short. The Sovereign was the guy in charge of the guild. It turned out that the Sovereign was David Bowie, but then it turned out that the Sovereign was just a shapeshifter pretending to be David Bowie. Directly beneath the Sovereign was a group of advisors, the Council of 13. Backing up again to All This in Gargantua 2, the Sovereign killed most of the Council in a bid for ultimate power, but ultimately died himself while in the form of a bird. All of this nuttiness left power up for grabs, and it was decided that a new council would be formed and that it would rule without a sovereign. So that's how Dr. Mrs. the Monarch got her spot on the council, along with Phantom Limb, Red Mantle, Dragoon, Radical Left and Right Wing, and Dr. Zinn. Throughout the season, they'll induct Phineas Phage and Wide Whale to the council as well. Wide Whale, yeah, let's talk about him. So across the street from the Venture family's new digs is an apartment complex in which Wide Whale lives. Wide Whale is essentially the Venture Brothers' equivalent of a mafia don. His main henchman is Rocco, and he has a daughter named Serena who has gills and the ability to breathe underwater. Hank develops a crush on her, and eventually the two start dating. Throughout Season 6, Wide Whale arches Dr. Venture. Nothing much ever comes of it, but it's worth pointing out that Wide Whale also has the Crusaders Action League in his back pocket, a group of heroes akin to the Justice League or the Avengers. The single member of the CAL with the most screen time is easily Warriana, an Amazonian-themed heroine with whom Brock ends up romantically entangled for the rest of the series. A couple odds and ends I couldn't work in organically, Dean begins attending college at Stuyvesant University, and Billy and Pete's company Conjectural Technologies is acquired by their nemesis Augustus St. Cloud and promptly sold to Ventec, so they end up in New York City working alongside Dr. Venture on cool new super science stuff, and they live in an apartment with Billy's mom Rose, her boyfriend, the Action Man, and Colonel Gentleman. Okay, Season 7. The season starts out with the conclusion of the Blue Morpho arc and a shit ton of revelations. The Monarch as the Blue Morpho is captured by Wide Whale, who it's revealed has a grudge against the Monarch because the Monarch had killed his brother, Dr. Dugong, which was something that happened back in Season 3. But then, causing a giant diversion, the actual Blue Morpho shows up and, oh, this is gonna get nutty. We find out that the Monarch's dad was blackmailed into doing Jonas Venture Sr.'s dirty work until the day he died in a plane crash, at which point he was resurrected as the cyborg Venturion by Dr. Venture's father until he had his neck snapped by his former sidekick Kano for choking a young Rusty Venture and was disposed of, later to be found by Dr. Zinn, who messed with his memory and turned him into Vendetta. So yeah, Vendetta shows up, dressed in his old Blue Morpho outfit after regaining some of his memories to confront Jonas, who it's revealed has been alive as just a head this whole time inside of the problem.
It's pronounced PROBLEM, Progressive Biological Life Extension Module.
So Jonas and a whole bunch of other people died on the Gargantua 1, the space station that preceded the Gargantua 2, on what is referred to as movie night, when someone opened the bay doors. Who opened the bay doors? We don't know, but Vendetta's the suspect as he was there to confront him and threatened to do so. He was confronting Jonas not only for the blackmail, but also because it was heavily implied that Jonas slept with his wife, and further, it was implied that Jonas fathered the monarch.
My science is quite potent.
In the aftermath of all of this, the incredibly awesome Red Death joins the Council, the Order of the Triad moves to New York City, the Action Man suffers a stroke, Vendetta dies or breaks or whatever, and Jonas's head is taken by the OSI for research purposes. The rest of Season 7 picks up a few months later. The Monarch spends the season trying to increase his EMA level, that's his equally matched aggression level, high enough to arch Dr. Venturer again fair and square. Dean finds out his father, much like he himself, was cloned, presumably a bunch of times. Throughout the season, both the Guild and the OSI prepare for the looming threat of the Peril Partnership, a rival villainous organization to the Guild of Calamitous Intent, which we see largely through the troubled relationship of star-crossed lovers OSI agent Kimberly McManus and Guild stranger S464. Toward the end of the season, Hank's relationship with Serena is starting to show some cracks, and in the penultimate episode of the season, after she won't return his calls, he goes out looking for her in a blizzard and subsequently suffers a concussion. In a semi-conscious state, Hank is picked up by Scare Bear and brought to Dean's dorm room where he discovers Dean and Serena in bed together. In the season finale, the Monarch is granted the level 10 EMA level he needed to arch Dr. Venture, and 21 officially becomes his number 2 after Dr. Mrs. the Monarch previously had to renounce her arching rights to remain a member of the Council. Hank spends the majority of the episode in a coma where he catches up with the Action Man, who is apparently also in a coma after his stroke earlier in the season. The Action Man informs him that his mother is just an ordinary woman and former actress named Bobby St. Simone. Meanwhile, Dean stays by his brother's side, repentant for sleeping with Serena. In the final moments of the episode, Hank comes out of his coma and sets off on his own, and it's officially revealed that the Monarch and Dr. Venture are blood related.
I